What's good, Liberators? Fingers here, and this is Dx2 Demon Review, and today we are talking about the silver dragon who showers us all with gold, the Drake, Fafnir. And I know what you're thinking, Fingers, why in the holiest of hells are you talking about this basic bitch-ass demon with no form or function in this game since his inception? Well, I will tell you, Major Strawman, and that is that he has finally found a niche in which he can fit, and that is he makes a fantastic addition to your Tokyo Abyss team, assuming you are running poison strategies, and we will get into why in just a moment. The Drake Fafnir, an evil dragon of Norse lore who was defeated by the hero Siegfried in the Volsunga saga. Written around the 13th century, is depicted as a giant worm with legs that shook the earth as he moved, and he could even spit poison. Very thematically appropriate. Now, from the stats, you can see he's got some decent strength there. Natural 212. You can pump it up to 232, 252 if you go hog wild with it, but I can't imagine why in God's name you'd do that. His magic stat, non-existent. His vitality is not bad, and there is an argument to be made for stacking him up with vitality, as his skill set is based around poison and amplifying poison damage. So the assumption is you're in for a long haul battle, and the poison is amplified, slowly draining the life out of your enemy. Conceptually cool, practically useless, because we all know how battles tend to go in DX2 and Shin Megami Tensei in general. It's hard, it's fast, it's furious, and if you're dragging on, generally speaking, you're probably doing something wrong. His agility is okay, and his luck ain't too shabby either. Again, there's an argument to be made for pumping up that luck because he does have ailment effects built into his skill set, and he drains physical, which is very, very important for Tokyo Abyss. He is weak to ice, which in this second season of Tokyo Abyss is problematic, but nothing that can't be overcome. And I have an Elementalist archetype as a relic of a battle. I needed a demon that reflected electricity. I can't remember which battle it was. I think it was Celestial Huang Long or one of those battles. And there were, at the time, there were very few demons who actually repelled electric. It was like Fafnir and I think Odin were like the only two that repelled electricity. And I think at the time I didn't have a Rama to use a drain electric instead, so I popped off with him on the Elementalist. I do not know what his natural affinity is, though I assume it's null. Or, yeah, it's probably a null electric, if I had to guess, or a resist. Doesn't really matter for what we're discussing right now. As for the skills, the transferable Blight inflicts physical damage with a 30% crit rate on all enemies with a 30% chance to inflict poison on all enemies. A weak attack with the power of 100, but it sweeps. It's got that crit bonus. It's got that poison infliction, which plays into his unique skills. And if you pump this up, you can increase the ailment infliction by 17%. So, nah, this skill sucks. Let's just come right out and say it. This skill sucks. If you're going to run anything with him, you're probably going to have someone else do the poisoning and have his passive just kick off and do that poison damage. For his first unique skill, the passive, Dragon Sense, plus 15% to physical hit rate and 15% to physical evasion rate. Hey, can't go wrong with basic bitch stat upgrades, especially in terms of accuracy and evasion, which can make all the difference in certain battles. Maintaining your accuracy so you don't lose press turns, evading attacks so you steal press turns. Can't go wrong there. And for the money shot, the Golden Greed. While the demon with this skill is alive, plus 200% poison damage to poisoned enemies. And in Tokyo Abyss, where you have the ability to poison boss demons, which is not usually something you have the ability to do, this is massive. A big shout out to Jelly for bringing this to my attention and reminding me that Fafnir even existed. This spikes your poison damage on these bosses from doing 1,000 a tick to like 2, 3, 4,000 a tick. And when the boss has 3 turns, okay, you're talking about knocking potentially 12,000 damage off a boss demon every one of their turns. Not yours, their turns, which is just mind-blowing. So if you can find this guy in the depths of the abyss, roll with him. I'm embarrassed I haven't mentioned him up until now. So big shout out to Jelly again, and check out his video. I'll link it below so you can see just how devastating this thing can be on the floor 60 boss. So if you're going for max rewards, you want to get to floor 61, and if this can do that kind of damage on the top floor boss and take him down in like a minute or so, I think he had a minute or under a minute, it was ridiculous, all the better. And if you pump this thing up, you can increase that poison damage by 25%, 50%, max out at an extra 100% damage, bringing it to 300% damage. Normally, poison will take 5% of an enemy's health away. So if you got Golden Greed on there, you've got an additional, basically you're taking away 15% of the boss demons, or any demons, health. If you pump this up all the way, you are chunking 20% per tick of poison against your enemies, which, hey, there's something to be said about that. There's got to be something you can do with that, because conceptually, it's just really cool. I've got him in the Elementalist archetype, which gives him Repel Electric. I'm sure he's got better archetypes. We will get to those in a moment. And I believe I gotcha'd him with the Death Counter here, which gives him a chance to counterattack. And hey, he's a physical demon, so okay. But he does not have an innate physical pierce, which is always a problem in PvP, especially in PvE. Yep, even there. So your mileage is going to vary. And I slapped on Deadly Poison to him just to be thematically appropriate. Again, I don't run him in anything. So, treat him as your basic. He's a physical attacker, ailment inflictor. So, hey, physical amp, fizz boost. I mean, I can't imagine you'd want to spend your fizz amp on this guy, or your Fizz Survivor, or any of your really good rare skills. You really can't justify the transfer to this guy, even if you have him panel 3. As for brands, War brands and Speed brands seem like a good idea. Ward brands, whatever you're planning on using him for, which I can't imagine what that would be exactly, but hey, dealer's choice in that regard. As for the panels, panel 1 plus 15% to physical hit rate. He's a physical guy, so having that physical hit rate, an additional 15% on top of the dragon senses, 15%, a natural 30% boost to physical accuracy. Hey, nothing to sneeze at there. Panel 2, minus 30% damage from poisoned enemies. Very, very interesting. Much like Black Frost has a panel that reduces the damage that you receive if the enemy is cursed, this does something similar. And wow, if you stack those things up together, and like you got Orcus on board too, further nullifying the damage, you got Rakakaja up, you got Tarunda on your enemies. Well, I can't think of a grouping that their damage would turn into next to nothing. Their damage would be so low that you could actually heal it back with like Meteorama every turn. That's the potential we're looking at here. Will it work in function, in practical application? Something tells me no, because we never see it. If this was strictly viable, you would see it in PvP. You would hear more about it, and we just don't see that. So while it's conceptually awesome, and I would love to run a team just to test it out sometime, and I may do just that, just for the memes. We'll see. We'll see. Think about it. And if you do it, record it, post it on YouTube, because we need more people posting DX2 stuff on YouTube. And for the third panel, the big Mamajana gains Fizz Pierce. Awesome, but for Pete's sake, Sega, if you need to give this guy 3 goddamn panels just to make him baseline viable, come on, yeah. Come on, yeah, you can do better than that. But still, it's there. If you can get this physical pierce on him, he will become baseline viable. Again, there's plenty of demons who can serve a physical damage dealer sweeper role better than this guy. His poison buffs don't really balance out like the carnage you can inflict from someone like Guan Yu. And he's old school. Even he's fallen out of favor, and Fafnir couldn't hold a candle to the damage that he'll put out. So I can't imagine why you'd make this huge investment in this guy just to make him baseline viable, when by the time you've got this third panel, you've probably bumblefucked your way into some gacha exclusive demons that can bring the physical pain a whole heck of a lot better. And before we wrap it up, let us check out the other archetypes. And I'm completely blanking on what they are exactly, because it has been a minute since I have even looked in Fafnir's direction. Where are you, Sir Dragon? Okay. Alright, for the Origami archetype, we have Binge Eating Physical Damage. Heals caster 40% of damage dealt single target with the power of 140. Okay, I'm never was a big fan of these attacks that heal you, because generally they sacrifice so much attack, and healing is usually such a losing proposition that I would just rather have an attack that bludgeons an enemy, one-shots them, rather than healing back potential damage dealt. But hey, he was designed to be involved in longer form battles, so hey, there could be something to be said for this skill. For the Protector archetype, War Cry reduces attack and defense of all enemies by 20%. The double D buff, these used to be so good and so viable, but now, these days, where every demon and their mother can auto debuff, so many demons have these auto skills that debuff automatically every turn, so you don't even have to waste a turn or a half press turn in order to debuff your enemies. It's just coming in naturally. So these have since lost a lot of luster, but hey, it's still there. If you need to get the job done, if you need to keep re-upping a debuff, there it is. Something to think about. For the Psychic archetype, Enduring Soul, a classic. You can't really go wrong with this one on any demon, really. Keeping you alive for one extra go. In PvP, things like this win battles. Your one demon survives just that one extra round in order to finish off the enemy. And, hey, you can't argue with the results. You see this all the time in PvP. Top tier players got their Endures, their Enduring Souls, their Enduring Soul pluses all over the place, even though a lot of demons have the ability to cut through death resistance skills such as this. Still, it works, it plays, because it just works. Like take the Moirai sisters, for example. They cannot penetrate this. So I can't count the number of battles I won by having one extra turn with Asura Lord to flatten some sisters just because he had Enduring Soul planted on him. So, hey, you really can't go wrong there. And the Elementalist archetype, Repel Electric, which, as I mentioned before, used to be a very rare thing for a demon to have. Again, the only one I can think of is Odin. 4-star Odin had Repel Electric, and there was no one else. And Fafnir was a later addition. They didn't introduce Drakes until, over a year and a half, 2 years into the game. So this is actually really rare. I don't know if it's still super rare, as I've not had cause to need a Repel Electric demon, so I haven't exactly focused on who's got this skill. And in these days, Now, I ignore nulls, drains, and repels largely because everything pierces through everything, and I don't tend to run teams that have Rama or Demiurge or Adavaka, basing the team around reinforcing your repels to defend against pierce attacks. And that, my friends, is all I can think to say about the Drake Fafnir, and he reminds us of that old adage: make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, and the other pees on you for sexual pleasure. Don't get captured.